So what do we need to know to prevent this from happening? Parenting comes naturally, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it comes correctly. We are the way we are because of what happened to us in those early years. Because we now know what activates cortisol, we can take steps to prevent that from happening. So what are some of the major things a mom can unwittingly do wrong that will flood her baby with cortisol? Well, one of the major things that she can do is to enforce separation before her infant is ready for it. Let me repeat that. To enforce separation before her infant is ready for it. And how can she do that? Well, by making him adapt to his mother's sleeping schedule, by just shutting him in his room when it is bedtime and leaving him to scream. Shutting her infant in his room so as not to hear him crying, not understanding that in his screaming he is experiencing some inner terror. Pushing him to the end of the garden so he can cry it out, so she can get on with what needs to be done. Leaving him with someone who he is not totally familiar with and therefore not able to comfort him, or not meeting his gaze lovingly when he needs it. Filmed experiments show the baby's desperation when a mother cannot or will not lovingly meet his gaze in a way that tells him she is there for him. These ways of dealing with her infant are likely learned responses from a book or from her parents. But there are many other ways which mothers and fathers can unwittingly, mentally and emotionally damage their infants, which are covered in the book Happiness, Who Wants It? In these situations, when the screaming is out of control because of this abandonment, guess where the cortisol levels are? Right at the top. Infants haven't developed the defenses that we as adults have. They are subject to the full force of this abandonment, which we as adults can usually manage. You might ask how the infant turns off the cortisol, if not comforted. From the observer's perspective, by perhaps falling asleep, exhausted by his own crying. But for the vulnerable infant, the only way he can get away from the distress is by cutting off a part of the mental and emotional terror. This gets filed in the unconscious mind, so he does not have to experience what is likely to have become a completely intolerable experience. It is the only thing he can do, but the problem with the splitting, as I mentioned earlier, it's likely to generate anxiety, depression, neediness, feelings of rejection and abandonment, no motivation, rage, low self-esteem, and uncaring, which is being unaware of the plight of others when he grows up. It naturally goes without saying that other deeply wounding incidents may occur to us in our journey through life, which may severely affect us. But if the foundations from our infanthood are solid, we are far more likely to deal with them from a position of strength. And if you're a mom, isn't that what you would want for your child? Because of our humanness, there will never be perfect parenting. But being aware of these breakthroughs and allowing infants to benefit from them will impact favorably on future generations. So please be good enough to pass this video on to doctors, teachers, maternity departments, creche directors, your MP, or anyone else who you feel will benefit from it. The web address is www.whatmakesyoutick.org. If you want to read more about how to create better foundations for your child, based on scientific data, while at the same time understanding more about yourself, and whether you can do something about your issues, this book may help you do that.